All right, everyone, welcome. So we're going to do an actual little meditation on the topic we covered last time. So get yourself ready. Begin by setting the clear and conscious intention that you're going to meditate. And as soon as you send this message to your entire being, allow the different parts of you to respond to your intention just by letting go and paying attention. Listen to the natural intelligence that is in the body itself. Allow it to guide you. It knows how the body should be if your intention is to meditate. So the impulses that you feel concerning the body, concerning making adjustments, consider that to be, it is the intelligence in the body communicating to you. So make those adjustments consciously understanding that. And what you're seeking in the posture is comfort and stability in the body, in the breath, and the mind. And eventually you reach a certain point where you feel this is as comfortable as I can be right now in the body. Maybe during the meditation, I might even be a bit more comfortable. For right now, as far as I can know, this is as comfortable as I can be, and you let the body go. The legs are comfortable and stable. The spine is upright and yet comfortable and stable. Shoulders are even, relaxed. The hands are arranged in such a way, the way you place them, when your mind go to your hands immediately remind you what you're doing is meditating. You're not just sitting down, you're meditating. So arrange your hands in such a way that it does that for you. And again, let them go. Allow them to be able to hold themselves in the place where you have them. Head and neck centered, so there's no need to hold the head from falling either forward or to the sides. Have the head centered. And when you do that, then there is a sense of the chin being pulled in a little bit, but you don't have to force your chin in. Just think of centering your head and neck, and then you will find your head in that place where there's a slight sense of the chin being pulled inward. And from the legs, as you go up, the comfort is enhancing. You feel it palpably in the legs. You feel it palpably in the torso, in the back, in the shoulders, and all the way to the fingers. Some degree, some measure of calming is arising. And now in the head and neck, the mouth, teeth, tongue resting in their natural places. The muscles of the face relaxed. And the eyes, what works best for you? Closed, half opened, fully open, whatever works for you. That is, whatever helps you, makes you feel that you're touching this meditative space, ever approaching, ever abiding in ever subtle levels of consciousness. You know that because of the measure of calm that is present, the measure of pleasantness that is present, the degree to which your thoughts seems to be occurring on their own without you eliciting them, giving rise to inner sensations that you feel either in terms of touch or visual or anywhere, in any way connected to any of your senses. And to help sort of really commit to this, you can either do it simply with your will, or you can do it with your will and incorporate the breath. You could, if you want to, take a nice deep breath in through the nose, hold for a second or two, and then release through the mouth. And as you let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, let yourself go, let yourself go in the body, let yourself go, let yourself go in the breath, let yourself go, let yourself go in the mind, let go, let go, let go, let yourself go deeper into the calm that is present, deeper into the pleasantness. Allow the thoughts, the sensations to gain more clarity, to gain more vividness. Just letting go, letting go, letting go. And as you are aware of the palpable measure, to whatever measure there is a sense of calm in the body, rejoice. To whatever measure you are aware of a sense of pleasantness in the body, rejoice. Seeing these as definite signs that you are in some measure in the meditative space. You're getting closer and closer to your natural, fundamental nature. The calm is a sign that you're approaching in the body. Notice the calm in the breath. To whatever measure, the calm is present in the breath. Notice the pleasantness, to whatever degree there is a pleasantness in the breath. Rejoice. Welcome this. And just as palpable as you can witness and experience a measure of calm and pleasantness and distinctiveness, appearance, or knowing of the body and of the breath. Look for that same level of palpable awareness of some degree of calm that is purely in the mind. Welcome them, rejoice in their presence. And to stabilize, we will take 3 deep breaths. So be aware of the signs, rejoicing that they're there, while resting in awareness of them. Take a nice deep breath and let go. Let yourself go deeper into the calm, deeper into the pleasantness, deeper into the clarity, deeper into the radiance, deeper into the focus. Stay in the depth that you reach at the end of the exhalation. While staying in that depth, again, breathe in. Staying. And again, let go. Let yourself go deeper, deeper into the calm, deeper into the pleasantness, deeper into the clarity, deeper into the radiance, deeper into the focus in the body, in the breath, in the mind. Notice there's a slight degree, there's a new depth to the calm. Maybe one of them is stronger than the other. That indicates the depth that you've reached. So stay aware of that, or stay aware of them. And for the 3rd time, while staying, take a nice deep breath. Stay as you breathe in, stay. And again, completely let go. Notice the signs, their depth, rejoice. Bring your attention to the space in front of you at the level of your eyebrows, as if something is caught your attention and you're extremely curious about it. And as your attention stays in that space in front of you, you begin to feel a sensation in the forehead. whatever the sensation may be for you, whether it's heat, whether it's pulse, whether it's vibration, consider to be connected to whatever it is that is seemingly starting to appear in the space in front of you. The more curious you are about it, the more you relax in the body, the more you relax in the breath, the more you relax in the mind. The more you relax, the stronger the calm, the stronger the pleasantness, the clearer the inner sensations, the more vivid the inner sensations and the thoughts, the more independent they seem to appear. You're not making them happen, they seem to just appear to you. And the sensation in the forehead, for some, it may get stronger, or just your awareness of it is stronger. And eventually, you see light, a presence of light. And there's something about that presence that makes you trust it. There's something about the presence that invoke from you a great sense of reverence. So you allow yourself to feel reverence for it, respect, trust. And knowing that somehow through this contact, you will fulfill whatever high ideals you have. And you feel with confidence a great sense of gratitude. You're here to listen. You're here to hear your innate wisdom guide you. Let yourself be open to the wisdom within you. And know that there are experiences that are unique to each one of us. And there are experiences that we all share. We all have our unique experiences of suffering, things that we have encountered within us, outside of us, in between, in both, that as they are happening, there's simultaneously the wish for it, that it wasn't happening. And know that everyone has this experience also, that there are things happening within them, outside of them, in their lives, that as it is happening, they are wishing that it wasn't happening. And we all have our defenses, strategies, instincts of trying to relate with this experience. And just like we make a lot of mistakes, they too make mistakes. And think of the people that you are close to. They're going through this. And just the people you know, not necessarily close to, people you encounter once in a while, the baristas, your fellow public transportation travelers, people you encounter in the streets, perhaps, they too are going through this experience. There are things happening in their lives. While those things are happening, they are wishing that it wasn't happening. And they're responding instinctively in ways that are not skillful. And it's not just the people we encounter that we don't really know, but everyone, every living being, every living thing has this experience, as far as we know. There are things happening in their lives also that they wish wasn't happening, and yet it's happening. In their minds, in their bodies, in their relationships, in their environment. And what is it that we are all doing, most of us? In some way or another, we are distracting ourselves, we are running away. And so far as back as we can remember, no one has been able to really overcome this by simply running away, by engaging in distractions. Since the wish to no longer experience these things is unavoidable. So let's direct our attention, let's direct our intention. How do we really fulfill this? And let your heart be open to the wisdom from within. And as a sign of your openness of mind and your willingness to really know, how do we really handle this? Not a band-aid, not temporarily, but really, truly handle this. And holding that openness, the bright presence in front of us, that we feel a natural reverence and trust comes to the crown of our heads. And we feel not just reverence towards it, but we feel from it a sense of unconditional love. And with an open heart, watch it as it accepts the invitation to enter your heart through the crown of your head. Watch it, feel it descending, sending bright rays of light, and eventually resting in the very center of your heart. And let that be a reminder to you that the source of wisdom is within you. And get ready to come out of the meditation. Keeping that sense of contact, communicating, listening to your innate wisdom. And it may come in voices or in communications that are unexpected. It might even come through your laptop or your phone. So get ready to come out. Take a nice deep breath with the intention to arise and release. And as you release, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings, reconnect with your sense of touch, noticing the temperature, the feel of the clothing on you, noticing the different sounds, and noticing the different colors, the different shapes, the lights and the shadows. Oh, I didn't press that studio button when you're playing a bell. So did you hear a bell? A little bit. Okay. All right. Okay. Remember, and it's because of the teaching on the Four Noble Truth, and especially the first time they were pronounced, the first time they were taught, and it was considered to be the turning of the wheel of dharma, or you could say the means to achieve real freedom was set into motion. The teaching was set in motion. Okay. And what was it that set the wheel in motion? What was it that set the dynamic? What was it that set the means for the freedom that we seek to achieve? What was it that set the means to achieve it? What was it that set it up? It was basically the Buddha explaining the Four Noble Truths to his first ever disciples, who were once his companions. And by simply stating them without explaining them, one of them understood and achieved the deep-seated freedom. And from that moment on, the Buddha was simply explaining the Four Noble Truths. In explaining, giving further explanation of what he meant when he stated the Four Truths, then someone else understood and achieved freedom. And he gave more elaboration, and then someone else did, and more elaboration. And it's because of that, even though it's not stated anywhere, it is because of that I make the statement that all the teachings are really just elaborations on the Four Noble Truths. And the reason for the elaboration is because as they get closer and closer to us, like someone like me, I'm so thick-headed, I need vast elaborations in order for me to even be interested, so I can finally get to the essence of the Four Noble Truths. Okay. And I will even say certain things that may sound blasphemous, or when I say even Tantra itself is just an elaboration. It's because we are so thick-headed that some extremely drastic measure had to be taken for us to just get it. Okay, for me, that's what Tantra means. And it doesn't mean that Tantra is not effective. It just means that if you're thick-headed like me, you need Tantra. Just simply hearing the Four Noble Truth is not enough. Like for Kundinya, I think his name was Kundinya, the first disciple who just got it the first time the Buddha said it. Okay. And there are these beautiful commentaries explaining what the Four Noble Truths are, and there are what you might call general explanations as to what they are. When the First Noble Truth is being described, the first thing we need to do, we have to try to be as close to kundinya as possible. Don't consider these to be something abstract. That is because abstract things have the nature of just remaining abstract. That is non-relevant to your life. Whatever is going on in your life, whatever is relevant for you, the Four Noble Truths must be relevant to them. Okay? If you're worried about your mortgage, the Four Noble Truths must be relevant to your mortgage. Okay? If you're worried about your relationship, the Four Noble Truths must be relevant to your relationship. So whatever is going on in your life, the Four Noble Truths are supposed to be relevant to that. If we keep the Four Noble Truths as some abstract, beautiful idea that some beautiful guy that we admire said a long time ago, it makes good reading. It makes good discussion when you're at the party to show what you know, to show off what you know. Then it will not be relevant. And eventually you will dismiss it because your life will demand your attention. Your life will demand that you make it relevant be relevant. And that's unfortunately the reason why a lot of people who are on the path and they encounter these incredible teachings, and I'm not saying that necessarily the teachings that I've known, but you know, some incredible teaching somewhere from some tradition, but they're not able to, it remains for them abstract. It remains for them something ornamental. It doesn't seem to be relevant to their lives. So eventually, after some time, they will let them go. They will let them go in two ways. Completely let them go, that they have no connection with them whatsoever. And then their life, which is real, becomes what they focus on. The mortgage, the kids, the spouse, okay, these kinds of things. Okay, and these things about Four Noble Truths seems to have no relationship to that. Okay. If they remain that way, then that's one way of completely discarding them and no longer having any relationship with them. And the second way is, I think, is the way that you find in most communities where they seem to be always around where these things are, but it's sort of like live a double life. It's like you go to the community and then we talk about compassion, and then you're there, oh yeah, that's wonderful, yeah, that's beautiful, and you're able to explain so many nuances of compassion, so many different levels of it. But when you leave the community, you get back home, you're in your job or whatever you are, you're meeting somebody on the street, and then that's it, compassion is out the door, okay? Because it seems to be irrelevant to you dealing with traffic. It's irrelevant to you having to stand in line. Oh my goodness, standing in line. Okay. And I don't blame the two sides, those who completely let it go. It's like they don't see it having relevance and they need to deal with their life. Since it doesn't see the connection to being relevant to life, of course, it's a good thing for them to let it go. And for those who feel that there is something there, but I can't quite get it yet, but I'm going to stay around it. And eventually, maybe it will affect me in a way that it should be affecting me. Okay. Now, to avoid those two from the very beginning, even if you don't understand the nuances, even if you don't understand what is being said, there's a part of you that is at least attracted to it. There's a part of you that seems, you could say, it knows the value of it, and it wants you to stay connected to it. And the thing to do is to immediately see, how relevant is this to my life? How is this going to help me with my mortgage? How is this going to help me with my family? How is this going to help with my relationships? How is this going to help me with dealing with my neighbors? How is this going to help me with whatever it is that's actually happening in your life that actually takes your attention, whether you want your attention to be taken or not? It takes your attention away, right? If you have to pay rent, you can't just say, I don't care about that. No, it grabs your attention. It makes you do something so you pay your rent. So that's what I mean. The Four Noble Truths must be as relevant to you as paying your rent, okay? As relevant to you as buying breakfast, if you're one of those people who eat breakfast. Okay. So the first noble truth, don't let it be an abstract about suffering, but rather it is saying, the first noble truth is basically saying, know your life. Don't put flowers on things that just to make it palatable for you. Yes, there are flowers and there are thorns. There's garbage and there are parks. That's what they are. Meet your life exactly as your life is presenting itself to you. That's what the first noble truth is about. The first noble truth of suffering. It's basically know your life for what it is. Appreciate in a sense of, not appreciate in a sense of make beauty, see the beauty of, okay? But rather like have a real sense of intimately knowing your life. Be present with whatever is going on, whether it is something that you like or you don't like, be present with it. Now, it doesn't mean to wallow. It doesn't mean to, when you see injustice, you're supposed to let it go and just say, oh, that's life, but in order for you to, like injustice, for example, when you witness something and you say injustice, the very reason you say injustice is because you say, this should not be the way it is. And there's just like there is when there is the experience that is going on, and simultaneously with it, there's a wish for it not to continue. Simultaneously, when you witness something and you label and you come with injustice, there's a wish within you that this shouldn't continue also. And you would like to be able to do something for this thing that should not be to not be. So in order for us to really make sure that this injustice doesn't take place anymore, we have to be sincere in that wish. In our suffering, there are so many different degrees of experiencing suffering that one way of suffering perpetuating itself is to make itself appear that it is taking care of something, taking care of suffering. Yes, it's not supposed to be pleasant when you witness something and you feel injustice is taking place. It's not supposed to be pleasant. But because it is unpleasant, there's a wish for that this unpleasant feeling to go away. We may distract ourselves, not by taking care of the injustice, but rather just to taking care of the unpleasant feeling. So now we'll say that there's nothing wrong with wanting to take care of the unpleasant feeling, but understand that this unpleasant feeling isn't just there by itself. It is there because there is an injustice. There is, and take the injustice and then expand its spectrum. The injustice of my girlfriend breaking up with me. That's injustice. Okay. Now, whatever is going on that should not be going on, all right? To the injustice of whatever goes on in the courts and in countries and governments and things like that, in neighborhoods, whatever that's supposed to be going, not supposed to be going on, I'm going to use the word injustice for it, to cover everything, okay? So this unpleasantness, this unpleasant feeling that arises is a kind of wisdom. It's a wisdom that tells us, hey, imagine this. It's the wisdom that says, hey, I know how things are supposed to be, and this is not how things are supposed to be. And it gives us this unpleasant, and this unpleasant feeling is it's like an experience of witnessing something that shouldn't be. And the only way for it to be back to where it is, so that the unpleasantness will go away. What is the unpleasantness also signifying? The unpleasantness signifying that you are not at this moment connected with your natural state. There's something unnatural here. By unnatural, I'm not saying that suffering is not part of nature. I'm talking about nature in terms of like an absolute nature kind of way. So in an absolute way, our nature is peace. In the absolute way, our nature is pleasant. And unpleasantness is unpleasant because we have been pushed away from this natural way of being. And this very unpleasant feeling is asking us, hey, go back to your natural nature. So the suffering is awareness and experience of suffering remember, it's a wisdom. Because it is a wisdom, if we stay with it, we'll become wiser. And what is the first thing? What is going on should not be going on. That itself is a wisdom. What is going on, it should not be going on. That's a wisdom. Now, how do we adjust it? How do we do that? And that's what we want to do. But unfortunately, because we are so attached to feeling pleasant, we are so attached to feeling normal immediately. Or should I say not attached? Forget the word attached. We are so desperate. Okay? We are so desperate to feel normal. We are so desperate to feel, to at least not feel this unpleasantness, that we are willing to do whatever. And what is the whatever that we do, that we have become accustomed to do, is to run away, not face it, deny that it is there, distract ourselves with something else. And we do this in ways that we're not even aware that's what we are doing. Sometimes we think we are addressing the condition, the situation, but actually what we are doing is a trick. We trick ourselves by doing a distraction and pretending the distraction is a way of taking care of the situation. And take the example of injustice in terms of the law and things like that. We see an injustice, we feel uncomfortable, and we want to address this discomfort. And the only way for us to address this discomfort, we have to do something. If we lose ourselves in anger, because of the ways I've been understanding anger lately, I have to say dysfunctional anger. And there's a reason why I have to say that, okay? Dysfunctional anger. So anger by itself, just by itself, is not necessarily dysfunctional. It's not necessarily something bad. The reason that it is sort of generalized as something bad is because we have developed I'm going to keep using the word dysfunctional. If somebody can come up with another word, I will appreciate that, but that's the word that's stuck with me now. Because we have developed such a dysfunctional way of dealing with anger, it's then all anger is lumped into, okay, that's not good for you. But when that anger you feel when you're encountering injustice, that anger is good. That means you must do something and actually change the situation. That's what anger is. That's what that initial anger is telling you. But because we are so habituated to mishandle this energy called anger, we end up just perpetuating the suffering. We remove, it seems like, the injustice, but it's not really removing it. We simply displace it. We take the injustice and we put it somewhere else. Okay. And because we are not using the innate wisdom that made us aware of the injustice in the first place. Like when we encounter whatever the injustice, and then you become angry, and the anger says you should do something, but the way we handle the anger is that we say things that we shouldn't be saying, we do things that we shouldn't be doing. All that is distraction from what the wisdom that gives you awareness, there's something not right here in the first place. It's distraction from that awareness. So that very awareness that made us, that brought this knowledge to us, there's something that should not be here, is present. There's a misalignment. There's a having step away from nature here, present. Then how do we bring ourselves back? How do we address this? Since this experience of suffering is what is giving us this awareness, then we have to pay attention to the suffering itself. The suffering itself is saying there's something wrong here. If someone is saying something's wrong here, something's wrong here, something's wrong here, and you're not paying attention to the person, you're not addressing the person who's saying something is wrong here, you keep asking other people who are not saying that, you're not gonna know what's wrong here. In order for you to know what's wrong here, you have to address the person who's saying there's something wrong here. In this case, it is the very experience of the suffering itself. We have to go into it. Go into it is not to wallow in, is not to wallow into it. Let it just continue. Let it fester. Let it let it ferment. Okay. But rather to approach it with a sense of wanting to know what is it that is being said. Okay. What is it that is actually taking place? That is all wrong. That is not supposed to be there. What is actually taking place? That shouldn't be taking place. If we don't see what is actually taking place that should not be taking place, then we will not know what should not be taking place. You understand that? In order for us to know something that is happening, which is something that should not be taking place, if we're not looking at it, we will not know what is it that should not be taking place. And at the same time, we will not know what is it that should be taking place. Okay. And the very experience, if we allow it, and how do we allow it? In all the ways that we have experiences, in all the ways that we are knowing, in what way is this experience that we call suffering is communicating to us? Do we feel it in our body, like when you're anxious and you feel some sort of, you feel some physiological thing in your body? You feel something in your emotion, you feel something in your mind, in your cognitive abilities. Look at those things. Look at them. And simply say, this is what's happening. This is happening. This is happening. Like you have stage fright. You're on stage. And you're saying stage fright. Part of you wants to run away from the stage. All of you wants the people to go away. So what would it mean to be with it? So what is actually happening that we are calling stage fright? What's happening in your body? What's happening in your mind? And by noticing, okay, this is what's happening in my body. My legs are shaking. I'm sweating. You are simply noting, okay, and basically you are listening to the communication. Okay, legs shaking, okay, sweating. Oh, heart is doing this. Oh, I'm moving part of my body a certain way. My mind feels a certain way. I'm able to think certain thoughts, and certain thoughts I cannot think. There's this kind of emotional feeling present, and it feels this way. So just by noticing it and then telling you that's what's happening, that's what's happening, that's what's happening. And eventually, if you allow it, and that's the communication, you could say that's the first layer of the communication, what is actually happening. And by being aware of what is actually happening, and eventually you'll get to another layer, the layer of origin, the layer of connection. What is connected to your body shaking? What is connecting to your feeling sweaty? What is connected to your mind not being able to think certain thoughts, but only thinking other kinds of thoughts? What is connected to the power of your voice? What is that? What is connected to those things? And we will not know that. That is, we will not know them for what they are if we do not let ourselves just see it. Now, if the way so far, those who have accepted this and that are presenting this, stay with the suffering, stay with it, be present with it. They use that term, but they sort of present you in a sense that almost as if you will discover the suffering is not suffering. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what should be said. It's not that somehow, because if you're paying attention to what's going on and your intention is to this thing that is going on will eventually not be what it is and be something else, you're looking for distraction. This is painful. This is extremely painful. This is very painful. And that's what's actually taking place. How do you know it's very painful? I feel it in my body this way. I feel it in my mind this way. My emotions are this way. This is telling me what is actually taking place. This is wisdom. What is wisdom? Whatever is actually taking place, you are aware of what's taking place. That's wisdom. Okay? So it's not that there's a part of you at the same time. Yes, there is that underlying, remember, the nature of suffering is something is happening that while it's happening, there's a wish for it not to happen. Not to fall into the bad habit where we end up doing something and then the suffering remains. Nothing happens to it. Not to fall into that habit. Don't wish at the same time, you already know that's the nature of suffering. It is the very nature of suffering has those two things. Something is happening, and at the same time, there's a wish for it not to happen. It's simultaneous. So there's no need for us to put another layer of I wish for it not to happen on top of it. It's already there. When you put this other layer of wish that it wasn't happening, that's when this, I would say, is bad teaching that says that by doing that, eventually the suffering goes away. Now, eventually, you know suffering to be for what it is. And what's the aim of suffering? For it not to happen again. What's the aim of knowing injustice? What? So now eventually the injustice will be pretty, will be flowers. Oh, look at them killing those innocent people. Isn't that beautiful? Is that what you're supposed to be doing? Look at those people being in prison for no reason. Isn't that beautiful? Is that what observing the suffering is supposed to end up like? No, you're supposed to say, no, I know that's wrong. I know that's awful because I know it, because I'm with it. And it should not be. And because I know it's awful, because I know it's painful, because I know it should not be, then I'm going to connect to what it is that's going to actually make that, fulfill that. And by just staying with it, and eventually we will connect with, for the sake of brevity, the origin of suffering, the second noble truth. Okay. And what is it that we will come to connect with? And there are layers of this. And the reason I'm saying layers of this, don't think that you're looking at suffering, you look at suffering, you're just somebody from yesterday, you just, for the first time in your life, you're not running away from your suffering anymore, you're actually sitting with it, and you're actually able to bear a little bit of the difficulty, you're able to bear the discomfort, and then you're expecting somehow to immediately have a direct perception of your true nature. Oh, I'm actually bliss, or I'm actually limitless. No, that is not the only experience you're supposed to have. That is not the only thing that says wisdom is arising. The very first wisdom that arises is, this is painful, and it is truly, and it is true. It is painful. That's the first wisdom. The second wisdom, second layer, the layer of knowing the origin of this is, you might get insights. Actually, I was thinking of starting this class with this joke. Not saying it, but just reminding you of a joke. You know the joke of the person who goes to see a doctor and then says, the doctor, it hurts whenever I do this. And the doctor says, stop doing that. Okay. So when you're staying with the suffering, just staying with it, and eventually it will tell you it's because you did this, and now stop doing that. And then you can go to another layer of that. It's because there is something about the condition of your shoulders that makes it so that when you do this, it's painful. So stop doing that. And the next thing, stop doing whatever it is that makes the shoulders having the condition so that when you do this, it's painful. And these are layers of wisdom. And what we have to be careful with, we are so desperate to get to the origin so that we can remove it, get to what it is that is the condition that is making the suffering possible, so we can get rid of it. We are so desperate. We have to be careful about creating false causes. That's just another distraction. The only way that we will be sincerely interested in getting rid of the experience that shouldn't be there is to really know that it should not be there. The only way for us to know that it should not be there is for us to actually bear the difficulty of it. And this is not to say if you're not having any obvious pain, any obvious suffering, in order for you to grow, you have to go out into the world, go find yourself some pain. Okay. I know some people actually believe that, and it creates complications in terms of their life is in pain. They're not allowing themselves to or be aware of it because they've distracted themselves so much, and they hear this thing that you have to suffer in order for you to grow. So they dismiss their own suffering. They go look for suffering where it doesn't exist. So they have fake suffering. And in having fake suffering, they have fake origins. And those fake, because they're fake origins, they don't really take care of actual suffering. So no matter how many of them they remove, they will never grow one iota. Yeah. So what is the experience? What are some of the things that connected to the experience? Let me see how much time we have. Okay, we have a little bit of time. What is connected to the experience? What is also happening at the same time of the experience that we're calling this is suffering? There are certain, almost like there is an environment that's holding, that is nourishing the experience in order for the experience to continue. The very first environment was simply don't know it. And you can take that don't know it at all the different levels. Okay. I am in pain and I'm not allowing myself to know that I'm in pain. That's one level of not knowing. I am in pain, but I am saying, oh, it's this is the cause of it, that's the cause of it, without really knowing that's the cause of it. And of course, all the way to what is the actual experience itself that is suffering, that is going on, not knowing that. So there is not just not knowing, but a deliberate misknowing is present. And because of the deliberate misknowing, what is it that we are misknowing? We are misknowing the experiencer, the one undergoing the experience. There's a deliberate misunderstanding of the experience that is taking place. And there is, on top of this misknowing, there is a imposition of what it is. We are imposing on the experience what it is before we actually sit with it to actually know it. So this layer, this misknowing has, oh my goodness, such implications. Because I'm imposing onto an experience. I am blinding myself from knowing the experience. I am relating with someone. I am imposing on the way of relating with a person something else, something that is not the way of relating. And because of that, I'm blind to how much suffering I'm causing that person. And in turn, how much suffering I'm causing myself, because you can't be causing someone suffering and then for you to be really having somehow found the means for your own bliss. I'm connecting myself and someone else in this chain of suffering, because I'm imposing on the way that I'm relating that has nothing to do with the relating itself. Rather than look at the way I'm relating, I'm already saying, oh, this is what it is. And because I'm relating this way, I'm not seeing how this relating is causing this other person pain, suffering. And when I see this person complaining, I say, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And this person is suffering. You can't see their pain. And because you can see their pain, how are they going to respond to you? They see you as a monster, and then they will respond to you the way you should respond to a monster. And this is creating suffering. Why? Because I am so desperate to get away from my suffering that I create what it is rather than see it for what it is. So this unknowing is there. And then because of this unknowing, this not just unknowing, but this imposition of a misunderstanding, imposing a misunderstanding onto things, force us to behave like me, behaving in a cruel way towards someone, thinking I'm behaving in a loving way, stepping on their toes and asking them, what's wrong with you? And the outcome that comes from this is that we disconnect and we encourage disconnection. What happens to this? we become no longer sensitive to someone else's pain. And because we're no longer able to connect to someone else's pain, the connection is loving. How can we actually make them happy? How can we actually love them? So that tells us the misunderstanding makes us act a way opposing to compassion. It makes us behave. It makes us be in the world in a way that it opposes love. And since these things that are what are being opposed, remember, suffering is misaligning ourselves from our nature. That means our true nature is naturally compassionate, naturally loving. And because we are acting against that, that's what we are experiencing as pain, as the reminder, you're away from your nature. In some way, you might think you're the most loving person, but you're not being loving. You're not aligned with it. You might think you're the most compassionate person, but you're not being compassionate. You're causing pain. You're causing disconnection. And you're not allowing yourself to see what is actually there. And then you could come to know psychologically that, my ego tried to protect itself in that situation, thought that connection was the cause of pain. So it creates a dynamic of relating. When you see loving, when you see connection, you stay away from it. You try to sabotage it. You try to damage it. Because a misunderstanding of a situation made us conclude and made us behave in such a way that when we are able to know love and connection, but we are behaving towards it like it's an enemy without even knowing that's what we're doing. So what is the environment that nurtures the suffering? Those three things I mentioned are the main thing that sustained it. And acting from them, misunderstanding, lack of compassion, lack of love. In some way or another, even though you might believe yourself to be acting out of love, yourself to be acting out of compassion, but what is really present there is a lack of them. And that's why the suffering is experienced. And it perpetuates itself by creating potentials to continue to experience exactly the same thing. It perpetuates itself by making us masters of distraction. It perpetuates itself when you're beginning to learn a little bit. It sneaks in there and says, oh, here's the answer, without you making the necessary effort to actually find the answer, but going around with puffed up ego, thinking that you have found the answer when you have not. Okay. So what is the origin of suffering? What is it that's connected to that? Lack of responding to the world from a place of love, lack of responding and relating to the world from a place of compassion, lack of relating with the world as the world is. How can you have compassion for someone if you don't really know them? How can you love someone if you don't really know them? A lot of times we enter into relationships not with someone, but with some idea that we have about what the person is supposed to be. And that's why we become disheartened and discouraged, and we fall out of love because the person is changed. How dare you? You're supposed to be this image, and now you're no longer that image. Who are you? You never knew the person. You never allow yourself to make connection with the person. The fantasy that we have about who the person is supposed to be, we can never make connection with that. It doesn't exist. And because we are assuming to be making connection with fantasies, we never really exercise our capacity to love. We never exercise our capacity to have compassion. and it should not be, and don't think of it as some sort of mysterious thing. Remember, if this love talk, this compassion talk, this ignorance talk that seems to be like some high philosophy thing, does it help you with your mortgage? Does it help you with your relationship with your kids? Does it help you with your relationship with your spouse? Does it help you with your relationship with your friends? Okay. If we have to connect them. We have to see their relevance in that, because that's the life that we're experiencing, and that's the life that we want to live in a way without suffering. Otherwise, we are going to be aspiring to something that doesn't exist, a peace that doesn't exist, a joy that doesn't exist. The very reason that we suffer is because deep inside we know there is bliss, and we are away from it. Okay. All right. So for those of you who want a little bit of the traditional thing, klesha and karma. That's what I was talking about. Okay. I hope I presented it in such a way that, oh, klesha, I know what that is. Yeah, and then you're not listening anymore. Oh, karma, I know what that is. You're not listening anymore. Okay. Any way of relating that, when you're relating with that way, you're no longer centered. You're no longer experiencing your normal, natural peace. That's what klesha is. And when we act out of that, when we make ourselves into monsters and make others into monsters also, that's the awful thing about being a monster. Not only do we keep ourselves from experiencing our natural state of bliss, we also make others into monsters, because they have to be distracted to pay attention to us. Okay, all right.